when things are tough, when things are tense, when things are unknown, and there's a lot of that in our overculture right now, a lot of unknown, a lot of tension, a lot of, the potential to be in fear. That's kind of like clinging to the shore, clinging to the known. And the invitation is to let go of the shore, trust the water, move into the river of life. Um, and perhaps, connect to the river of our own life in a different way through that willingness to just let go into the river of life, the big river of the earth's fluid shift, because she's also, to some extent or to a great extent, letting go of her own shores, and moving into this bigger river of transformation. Um, and I like the water as an element to help us to reconnect with our own flow, letting go, going with the flow, ebb and flow of the ocean. It helps us to understand a different kind of rhythm in our life. So letting go into the water. Um, and we are mostly water. Human beings are mostly water. Our planet is mostly water, certainly on the surface. Um, and the water can help us to flow where we're best suited for the blessings of our life to show up. If we're clinging to the shore, to the known, maybe it's right, maybe it's not right. How will we ever know unless we let go and trust more in the fluid path, the fluid pathway? So, maybe we'll be in this river together for a while, this fluid river of life, headed to the ocean of love, and maybe then from there to Beauty Way Island. Who knows, right? But the invitation is to trust the water to help us. The water knows, she knows. She's an ancient force of nature, imagining the waters of this planet where they've been, over time, really feeling into that, the ancient places that water lives under the earth, deep under the earth, in wells, in glaciers, in and how it cycles through life, goes into the ocean, then up and again into the sky, and then onto the mountaintops. It gets frozen for eons, eons. Glacial water freezes for eons. Some of the water that we have comes from the stars. So if you can hear that snoring a little bit, that is my dog Chi-Chi going into a deep meditation whilst we're on this call. I don't know if it'll show up on the recording or not, but just in case. Um, so yeah, trusting the water to know, trusting water's wisdom, and letting ourselves go into that. Um, I think most of us, even if we can't swim, have had the experience of floating, on our backs with our heads up and the sun on our faces and just drifting, um, or drifting on a boat, as you go somewhere down the river. If you haven't, I highly recommend it as a thing, or even if you've been to a hot springs, then you're just floating in the water in the hot springs. Um, so the water can, if we can trust the water, if we can have that relationship with the water in our hearts and imagine that, be able to conjure that, then we can have something to let go into. We can let go of the shore, can let go of the gripping and the holding for just a little bit and just see what happens. Um, and be a little bit willing to let some of our deeply patterned behavior go in the process. Because that's really what we're letting go of. We're letting go of our patterns, our habit holes, as I like to call them. Um, and those things only feel safe because we've habituated ourselves into them. They only feel safe out of habit, not because they really are safe. That's the conundrum, is to kind of unpack that and realize it's not really logic, and it's not always true. Um, and to buy the kind of hypothesis that we belong to the river of life. We belong to our own river of life, and we can have a home inside of the ocean of love, whatever that means to each of us. Um, but we can also let ourselves eddy out a little bit here and there. And if we find a nice shady bend along the way, we can have a little camp and a little campfire with a few people that have shown up in our journey and enjoy that experience too. To not stay there, to not grab, to not hold on. Um, we are in a really powerful, transformative time, and a lot of it involves us being willing to surrender into this transformation. Um, and I'm practicing this faithful into the water, and letting go with curiosity, letting go with compassion, letting go with love, and beginning to trust the water can hold us. Water is innately buoyant as an element, and it can support us as we're cleansing and purifying. And it can teach us a lot about flow, being in our natural flow, trusting, you know, trusting the letting go.